Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to make these absolutely adorable chocolate-filled bunny buns that are perfect for Easter. Let's start by making the dough first. The first step is to activate the yeast. I always prefer to activate the yeast just to make sure that the yeast isn't dead and it does what it needs to do in the recipe. When it's nice and frothy like this, add the rest of the ingredients like the sugar, spices, vanilla, flour, and finally the salt. Once everything is added, it is time to knead the dough. Once all the ingredients are mixed together initially, knead the dough for about 5 more minutes until it forms a cohesive looking ball. The dough will still be very sticky, but you can see how elastic and stretchy the dough is. That means that the gluten is developing really well. This is when we start adding the butter in 2 to 3 portions, but make sure to mix each portion well before adding the next. I'm also making sure to scrape the bottom of the bowl as I go to ensure that all the dough and the butter are mixing really well and evenly together. Now another thing I want you to look at is how the dough changes as it's being kneaded. Right now the dough is sticking to the sides of the bowl, but just keep kneading the dough and the gluten will continue to form and the dough will become nice and shiny and smooth. Now you can see that the dough is no longer sticking to the sides of the bowl either. That's the consistency that we're looking for. When you try to lift the dough with the dough hook, the dough doesn't rip through the hook because it has enough gluten to give it strength. See, the dough is nice and shiny and holding onto the hook really well, and that's when you know the gluten has been developed sufficiently enough for us to go to the next step. Here I'm shaping the dough into a tight ball on a lightly floured surface and then transferring it back into the bowl so that it can proof in a warm place until it's about 1.5 to double its size. This proofing step actually helps to develop more gluten in the dough to make it stronger, but you can skip this step and do an overnight proof only if you are pressed for time. Once the dough is proofed, deflate and reshape the dough again and place it back in the bowl. Then put the dough in the fridge for an overnight cold proof. This cold fermentation step helps to chill the dough so that it's easier to manage and to develop more flavor in the dough as well. The dough can be left in the fridge for up to 24 hours, so the cold fermentation step can be as little as 8 hours, 12 hours, or 24 hours. So the next day, the dough would have doubled in size in the fridge and it would be cold and firm to the touch as well. Take the dough out of the bowl and then flatten it gently to remove any extra gas in there. Now separate the dough into 2 portions. The smaller portion of dough should be about 300 grams, which will leave us with a big portion of dough that should be about 800 grams. The smaller portion of dough will be used to make the ears for the bunny buns. The larger portion of dough will be wrapped and put back in the fridge so it can stay cold until we make the buns. Now take the smaller portion of dough and separate it into about 16 pieces. Each piece should weigh about 18 grams. Once you have all the 16 pieces ready, take each portion and shape it into a cylinder shape. Then just roll just one end to form like a baseball bat shape. So one end will be thin and pointy and small and the other end will be thick and larger. Repeat that with all the dough pieces and place them all on a tray or plate. Wrap it and chill it for later. Now it's time to make the bun part of the bunny bun. On a lightly floured surface, take out the large piece of dough and then roll that into a large rectangle. If the dough is springing back or it's hard to roll out, then wrap it and put it back in the fridge to rest before continuing to roll it out. When you're rolling out the dough, try to maintain the rectangle shape as you go. When you're done rolling the dough out, you should end up with a 21 by 16 inch rectangle shape. Then spread the filling in a very thin layer on top of that dough. Now you can use both chocolate hazelnut spread and speculoos butter like I have here, or you can just use one or the other. For a cinnamon roll variation of the Easter bunny buns, you can absolutely use cinnamon sugar butter filling in there as well. Just make sure that the filling is spread fairly thin so it is easier to handle. For my bunny buns, I chose to use a combination of both chocolate hazelnut and speculoos butter. I created a swirl-like effect but made sure that the filling is nice and evenly thin throughout the whole dough. Once the filling has been spread, fold 1/3 of the dough over the center of the dough along the long edge of the rectangle. Then fold the remaining dough over the center as well, as you can see in the video, so you have 3 layers of dough on top of each other. Once the dough has been folded, the width of it should be about 5 to 6 inches wide. If it isn't, you can use your rolling pin to just roll it out gently so that you do get that correct width. Then trim the edges to get neat straight lines at each end, and then mark the dough at about 1 1/4 inch intervals so you can get 16 strips of dough from the entire batch. Use a sharp straight edged knife to slice through the dough to get those 16 strips of dough. The sharp knife will help create clean edges, which will make for a neater braided bun later on. Once you've cut the strips of dough, you're ready for the next fun part of making the buns. Now take a strip of dough and place it on a lightly floured surface, and then take a sharp knife and make 2 slits lengthwise through the dough to make 3 strips of dough in one portion. The 3 strips are still connected at the top. Use the 3 strips and then form a braid, and this is where it is important that you didn't overfill your dough, because the filling will make the process of making a braid very sticky. If you use too much filling, it will make it even messier. Once you've braided the dough, pinch the edge to seal the seams, and then roll it up to form a braided bread roll like you can see here. They won't unravel as they bake because the buns will be made in a muffin pan. Repeat it with all the strips of dough and then keep them in the fridge until you're ready to assemble the bunny buns. Now I'm going to show you how to shape the bunny ears. So remember those baseball bat shaped dough pieces? Say that 3 times. Well, those are going to be turned into our bunny ears. Cut each portion in half and then use lightly floured hands to flatten out the thick part of the dough so it looks like bunny ears, like this. Repeat the process with all the baseball bat portions to form the bunny ears. Now prepare a muffin pan by lightly buttering each cavity, and then place each pair of bunny ears inside the muffin cavities. You can see here that the thin edges are placed at the bottom of the muffin pan and the large edges are draped outside of the cavities to look like bunny ears. Once all the bunny ears have been placed, transfer the braided buns into the muffin pans. Place each bun over the ends of the bunny ears so that the ears will seal against the bunny buns as they proof and bake, and repeat until all the bunny buns have been placed inside the muffin pan cavities. Now cover these buns and let them proof in a warm place until they have doubled in size. And while they're proofing, remember to preheat the oven to 350 Fahrenheit or 180 Celsius. Once the buns have proofed, the bunny ears will look puffy, and the buns will have also proofed and become puffy and filled out in the muffin pan as well. To ensure that the bunny buns will be nice and soft when they're baked, I'm adding just a little bit of cream into each bun, about 2 teaspoons each. Even though the dough has a high hydration level, the dough was rolled out fairly thin and there's filling in between as well, so the dough will have a tendency to dry out as it bakes. So by adding this extra little bit of cream, it will help hydrate those bread layers more and keep the buns nice and soft as they bake. Once you've added the cream, bake the bunny buns in a preheated oven until they turn a beautiful golden brown color. Once they are done, remove them from the oven, and while the buns are still hot, brush each bun with warm jam on top. This will help create that beautiful glaze on top of the bunny buns as well. You could also choose to do an egg wash before baking the bunny buns, but this is just what I preferred. You can also use any type of jam you like, but I used apricot here. I just really love the fruitiness that the jam adds to these chocolate buns. Either of these options will work, and you can choose what works best for you. Serve these chocolate buns at room temperature, but they do taste even better when they're just a little bit warm. So you can warm them up just a little bit in the oven or the microwave before serving if you like. Take a look at these super adorable bunny buns. Aren't they so cute? I mean, if you make these for your Easter celebration, they will be an absolute hit. Everyone will love how cute they look, and they will absolutely love how delicious they taste. So will you be making these this Easter? If you want to try them out, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to follow me at theflavorbender.com for more recipes like this.